Yeah, we are going on live here. This is Gabriel Ishmael Jallo. We want to say something very, very important this afternoon. Yeah, we want to say something very, very important this afternoon. We are talking about on my podcast. Let me say hi to all of you. I am Gabriel Ishmael Jallo. I am the presenter of the Out of the Box podcast. And this evening, we want to discuss a topic that we have entitled The Power of Testimony. The power of testimony is an exposition that will be given to you on the testimony aspect of the Christian faith. That doesn't mean that other religions don't have testimonies. I know Muslims also have testimonies, Hindus have testimonies, Baha'u'llah, all other faith must have testimony. But this testimony that I'm talking about is strictly the testimony, the power of testimony from the Bible. Now, what is a testimony? A testimony is defined as a formal or spoken statement, especially one given in a court. From the one of the definition of a testimony is a document. First of all, before a judge pass judgment, before you are convicted, there must be a testimony. Testimony, okay, testimony also is an evidence, something of an evidential value. Those are the few definitions that I will give you from the secular or the academic standpoint of a testimony. But I want you to also know that we have two types of testimonies. We have heaven oriented testimonies and collaborative testimonies. Heaven oriented testimonies are testimonies that are prepared in heaven for a man, devoid of any role that the man will have played. In a heaven oriented testimony, it does not necessarily mean that you have to have faith. There are times that people said you are bound to have faith before this thing works. But when you come to the heaven oriented testimony, you don't even require to have faith. That is one aspect of the heaven oriented testimony. And the heaven oriented testimony, too, it is not your business. You are not informed. You have no role to play in the heaven oriented testimony. It is God Himself who sits in heaven and arrange those testimonies, not you. So, but we cannot just discuss it arbitrarily. We have to go to the scriptures. So, you on TikTok, please tap and like. You on Facebook, like. You on my YouTube, please not only like, subscribe, and view. Once again, greetings to my subscribers, my viewers, my friends, and my well-wishers. I am Gabriel Ishmael Jallo. So now we are coming to, now in our discussion of this testimony, we are taking a verse from St. John chapter 9. St. John chapter 9 verse 1 to 3. The headline of this verse is The Boy That Was Born Blind. the boy that was born blind. Now listen to it. And he has passed by. And as he passed by, he saw a man born blind from birth. And his disciple asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he should be born blind? And Jesus answered, chapter 3, that's the anchor verse of this Bible studies. Jesus said, it was neither this man sin nor his parents, but it was in order that the works of God be displayed in him. The King James Version said, it was for the Son of Man to be manifest. When I read this verse, I was like, what kind of God is this? A God of authority, a God of audacity. This verse destroyed the myth of science. That science will say this thing will not happen, this person have sickness that will never get well. After science will have passed their judgment, this verse destroyed that judgment. This verse destroyed that judgment. This verse destroys that judgment. Now, this verse also dislocated the facade of black magic, white magic, juju. This verse dislocated it. And this verse crumbled the audacity of common sense. This verse, as we are about to do an in-depth study, this verse destroyed whatever the understanding of those who are promoting a theory called common sense. But do you know what? This verse presented the efficacy of the God of the Bible. Now, let's understand what the young man was saying, what Jesus was saying according to John's account. Jesus was passing and he met this young man that was born blind. I want you to underline this. The man was born blind. And Jesus' disciples asked him, Master, what has this man done for him to go through this? Do you know what that question presupposes? It presupposes that anybody that is undertaking an affliction, that is suffering from an affliction, it must be from either his sins or his parents' sins. I want you to remember a man in the Bible called Gehazi. When Gehazi followed Naaman, the Syrian general, and Elisha told him that you, Gehazi, you have taken the man's goods and you don't want to take his leprosy. And the thing that worried me, that also need to worry you, is that when the curses was placed on Gehazi, the Bible says Gehazi and his generation will be carriers of leprosy. You see what happened? That is why the disciples of Jesus were asking, this man, is it his sin or the sins of his people? If you look at what men are going through today, somebody will have been involved in somebody's matter. They went and placed a curse on him. Generation yet unborn are suffering from that curse. But in this our study, the power of testimony, we will see the potency of the pivotal perception of the God of the Bible. So Jesus was answering them. He said, this man, neither him nor his parents has anything to do with his problem. But do you know what Jesus said? Jesus said this man was only born blind for the Son of Man, hey, to be made manifest. In my country, we call those authority Babati, a God that has power. He decided to make the man blind because nobody can ask him. This is the God that will kill, that will give life without anybody asking him. A God of authority. That's the God that we are talking about. The power of testimony. Now, Jesus said something that touched me in that verse. He asked for mud to be rubbed in the eyes of the man. What type of thing is that? A man's eyes have been afflicted from birth. You are coming to put mud in the man's eyes. You are not taking him to hospital for you to run some tests. Hey, but you are coming to put mud in the man's eyes. What manner of man is Jesus, man? You see, the power of testimony brings many things into our mind. The definition said something that touched me. That is something of an evidential value. Do you remember a man called Thomas? You Christians, you call him the doubting Thomas. It's something that has been a cliche within the Christian community. But that's my best disciple. Do you know he was the same man that was able to hold the lips of Jesus for Jesus to say those words in St. John 14 verse 6. When all Jesus' disciples sat down, they were behaving as if they understand. You know, there are some people, they don't ask. They behave as if they know. That's the lifestyle of people like Peter. They behave as if they know. They don't know nothing. When Jesus was talking about, I am going to the Father. If you know the Father, you will know me. Then Jesus said, don't you know that I am going to the Father? It was Thomas that asked Jesus that question. He said, we don't even know the Father before you say we know where you are going or who you are. It was to Thomas directly that Jesus answered that question. That is one of the backbone of salvation. St. John 14 verse 6. I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the light. No one comes to the Father but by me. You see, that verse sets the pace for, that's why when Jesus was speaking, he did not say, I am a way. He said, I am the way, me. I am thee. This is not Krishna. It's not Vishnu. It's not Shango, the god of thunder. It's not the myth. It's not the god of the Arabian. This is Jesus Christ. So this same Thomas, I want you to remember when the Lord Jesus Christ appeared to the 11. I don't know where Thomas went. But when he returned, his colleague told him, say, hey, my man, the master was here. Thomas said, please. I know that ghosts exist. I know I saw that man died and he was buried. So I'm not here to buy these stories at all. Thomas said, this man, even when he comes, I will have to touch the scars. I will have to touch. For Thomas alone, listen to me, for one man the Lord Jesus returned, just imagine he has finished the battle against evil. He has nailed everything on his cross. He was now going to the Father. One man who wants a testimony. Jesus returned to Thomas. Do you know what Jesus did? He showed Thomas the marks. He said, Thomas, look at it. The last word that Thomas ever mentioned in the Bible, he said, my Lord and my God. Do you know what Jesus answered him? He said, Thomas, you are answering this because you have seen. Blessed are those who believe, even though they did not see. I love that Jesus submission, but Mr. Thomas, he wants to see. That's the power of testimony. Now, Jesus sent this man, this young man, to go and wash his face after he has put mud in the eyes of a man who was born blind. The man went and washed his face. Can you imagine? That's why I love the Apostle Paul. He said, the things of God are foolishness to the wise. When God, you see, yes, full gospel members. Yeah. Yes, I'll be here. I'll be coming. Yeah. Thomas said something that touched me. He said, I have now seen this. I am comfortable. When that young man returned from washing his face, the first time in his existence, he was able to see the other side of life. This man was born blind. This man has one testimony in his life. Is that for him, darkness was his portion. This man, please like, tap. Yes, TikTok, tap and like. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes. Yes, thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, Ibrahim and Rugiatu and somebody King is there and all of you. Thank very much for liking. Thank you very much. Now, Jesus Christ, when this man for the first time in his life, he was able to see light from his mother's womb. For him, 24 hours is only night until he met the man of testimony. You see, where I am delighted giving you this message, I am so happy to do that because I'm an object of testimony. The young man washed his face. He went to town. People who knew him, they saw him. Questions started coming around. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Then the teachers of the law, those in Israel, the Israel that you are fighting us about. Today you are fighting us because of Israel. You think that to be in Christ, I should support a state called Israel. That's not my topic. Let me go straight to this power of testimony. Now, they started running amok. Then they met this young man. They say, my guy, are you the one that was sitting there? You know, people don't understand, though. That man was a permanent customer at the junction. He has been placed in Kaswa. That is his place. Then came Jesus. Now that they saw the man seeing and bragging and enjoying for the first time, and they said, my friend, the man that makes you see that you are bragging, do you know him? That man is a juju man. That's what they will say. Your testimony is coming. People will not believe. that this is you. People will see you, they won't understand. This young man, argument all over the place. They said, please, that Jesus man, he deals with a juju god called Beelzebub. Then the young man said something. That is one of my best verse, my second best verse. My first verse in the Bible is Paul's letter to Galatians 6:7. Be not deceived, for man is not mocked. For whatsoever a man sow, I believe in that 100%, he shall reap. My second verse is this young man's testimony, the power of his testimony. You know what I answered him? He said, look, that man called Jesus, if you want, you call him a thief. If you want, you call him a liar. If you want, you say he's a juju man. If you want, you say he's Beelzebub. But I have one message for you. I was once blind. Now I can see. Power of testimony. I was blind. They went to the boy's parents to go and find out if really this was the man. You see, when Jesus meets you, people will misunderstand you. People will start saying, is he the man actually? And the power of testimony, one of the things that make me love the power of testimony is because the power of testimony, one of the things that makes me love the power of testimony, it can make people wonder. Just imagine, beloved, those who knew Sarah, it's okay. Those who knew Sarah, the wife of Abraham, they saw Sarah with pregnancy at a grandmother age. Just imagine what the neighbors would have been saying. They would have been saying, this woman is an agent of fibroid. Because scientifically, it is impossible. I respect science, but science is not the ultimate. I have never subscribed to a scientific belief that there is something that is in me that cannot be cured. Unless I don't believe the God of St. John chapter 9, verse 1 to 3. A man was born blind. I was not born with no deformity. So any deformity that afflicts me in my sojourn, in my life, in humanity, I have a God, the God of possibility, the God that cannot come late, the God that waited for everybody to laugh at Sarah, for him to come and said, next month, next year by this time. The God who waited for Penina to provoke Anna. That's the God we are talking about. Oh. We are talking about a God of visible testimonies. This is the first phase of this series. We call it an heaven-oriented testimony. In this testimony, it is not because of your faith. Sarah did not believe. He and Abraham, they laughed. They doubted God to the level that they went and got an Arab girl. But what happened? God showed up. The children of Israel doubted Moses at the edge of the Red Sea. They even told him to take them back for them to go eat the cucumbers and the goodies of Israel. Moses said, be still. The Egyptians you see today, you will see no more. The young man said, I don't care what you said about this man, but I know one thing. I was once blind, and now I can see. The power of testimony. A life has been turned around. Do you know when Jesus went to Lazarus, when he went to Bethany, do you know Martha did not believe? When Jesus said, I am coming to raise Lazarus up, do you know what Martha said? He said, I know. He will be raised up, but it's in the day of judgment. Jesus said, keep quiet. What is judgment? I am the resurrection and the life. Hey! That's the man, oh. The power of testimony. I'm very grateful that, and I receive all your messages, that we need to be talking gospel. We need to be propagating the God of gods, the God of the Bible. Thank you very much for listening. But let me tell you before I close. This is part 1 of the power of testimony. And this is part 1 of the heaven-oriented testimony. Aspects of heaven-oriented testimony. Very, very powerful aspect of heaven-oriented testimony. Before we jump to the next series, which is the collaborative testimony. As for that testimony, it is you and God before it comes to pass. We will prove it from the scriptures that there is a testimony. It can only be activated between you and heaven. But this one is heaven-oriented testimony that does not require your faith. It does not require the faith of your parents. It is only for God to prove a point. This is a God that has power. He wants to prove that without your efforts. In Revelation chapter 1, verse 8, the beginning and the end, the Almighty. I am the God that knows from the to the beginning. That's the God of the Bible. The King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. He's the God that said through the prophet Isaiah that the entire world is in the hall of my palm. Anytime I look at that verse, I look at the hall. This is my hall. God said, the entire world and the galaxy. Tap and like. TikTok, YouTube, subscribe and like and comment. Facebook, subscribe, add, like, and comment. I'm happy that all of you are responding positively. Let me close by thanking the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International, the Emmanuel Dankande Christian Foundation, the Out of the Box podcast, and all my friends, my viewers, my subscribers, my well-wishers. I promise to give you a 30 minutes exposition on the God of testimony. And let me leave you with this. The young man said, this Jesus, he can be a demon, He can be a soothsayer, but I know one thing. I was once blind, but now I can see. Thank you very much, Gabriel Ishmael Jalo.